At that, number 13, OBJ, it is true. Now I think for KB's robe, he needs to have the 13 stitched and back. What do you think, bud? You got to do it.
I'll do it. I remember when Paul Rudd presented at the honors, he had Mahomes on his suit, and Nate said that the next cool thing is going to be jersey suits. Yeah. Is that coming?
Yep. It's coming soon.
All right, I'm going to do jersey robes. We'll meet in the middle. I love it. Thank you.
Like embroidered, not duct tape like Paul Rudd.
Oh, yeah, sewn on.
Yes.
Okay. I'm into
Got to
that.
do it.
It's a thing.
Thanks so much, Will. We'll talk to you in a little bit, and we'll get you one of those suits for sure. Does anybody know what the Chiefs are doing on defense?
Tyrann Mathieu.
What? Oh, he's going to do it all.
Oh, he better.
I've got questions, and I know Mike Garafolo has answers. He's coming to us live from somewhere in New Jersey. So, Mike, thanks for joining the show. Yesterday, the Chiefs released longtime safety, heart of the team, Eric Berry. He's been plagued by injuries the past few seasons, of course, but he means so much to that city. And this must have been a tough one for the Chiefs organization. Why did it go down?
It was. Well, it went down because of money, Kay. That's the bottom line here. It's going to save them close to $10 million on the salary cap. It's a post-June 1st designation, which means they can clear more off of this year's cap and push a little bit more forward here. And it saves them $12.5 million in cash here to come off the books with Eric Berry. And in Berry's case, last year he had that nagging Achilles injury. It was day-to-day in August, and it was still day-to-day in December, and it was a frustrating thing for Berry and for the team. However, after the season, I'm told he went to go see noted foot and ankle specialist Robert Anderson, who decided that he didn't need surgery. And he said, looking at everything and evaluating Berry, he said, this is nothing that you can't play with going forward if they can just manage it better. So the hope for Berry is that he will be able to find a landing spot and continue his NFL career and return to being one of the best safeties that we have seen in the game, a guy that can do a little bit of everything.
Mikey G, yesterday you broke the news of Odell's trade, that blockbuster trade from the Giants to the Browns. Now that the dust has settled, what's the mood like inside the Giants facility?
There's a little bit of relief from the people that I've spoken to, just because this is something that's been hanging over their heads really for a year now, because they were listening to trade offers last year and having to make the tough decision about Odell Beckham. Do we move on from such a supreme talent? And they finally have done that. So now it's like, let's go forward. Let's build this thing the way we want to do it. And it's also going to be about Saquon Barkley. And it's not very often that you see in the current NFL that the running back is going to be a leader of the team. But he's emerging as one. He was a vocal guy on the sideline. He was telling the offensive linemen during games. We saw the mic'd up piece where he basically predicted, if you keep doing what you're doing up there, I'm going to be able to rip a touchdown run against the Redskins. He did that a number of times last year. You know, you contrast that, I don't mean to pile on here, but you contrast that with what Beckham has done on the sidelines at times with the kicking net and all this stuff. It's been a negative energy at times. And even last year, it wasn't as bad, but it was still there. And I do believe that the Giants just got to the point they said, well, we've got a lot of positive momentum in our backfield. We don't want Beckham and Barkley clashing going forward. So they made the decision, and now it's like, you know what? It's in the past. We're looking forward now.
Appreciate the insight from you, Mike Garafolo. He's obviously, he's a polarizing player. A lot of the greats are polarizing. They have their negatives and their positives, but I think fans do see it one way. Fans in New York, a lot of them on Twitter, even over the past 24 hours, were telling me that they love him, that the media's created what he is, that we've created and sort of fed into some of the negativity. We've seen the tape that we keep showing, that stupid net, like that defines him in some weird way. But there is another side of Odell Beckham Jr. Those who know him personally did see that from this wide receiver. And our very own Kim Jones shared a really heartfelt story that I want to share about her relationship covering the Giants and Beckham.
We're almost saying a New York goodbye to Beckham today, and it's not a secret. I had a serious medical issue in November, an aortic dissection. I ended up missing 46 days of work here at NFL Network. Now, in that time, late in that time, I was lucky enough to come back to both the Jets and Giants locker rooms on an unofficial capacity just to say some hellos and kind of get back in the swing of things. Well, my first day of work was right here at the Jets, 46 days later on December 31st, New Year's Eve. 7 p.m. that night, I got a text from Odell, and it simply had a video of me interviewing him after a Giants win a couple seasons ago. Where he found the video, I don't know, and they're not hard to find, but the video was linked. And he wrote simply, "I'm so happy I will still get to see you in 2019. That is who, in my experience, Odell Beckham Jr. is. I understand he gets a bad rap. He is emotional. So am I. We've connected on that level. But I do think that there is a different side to him. I hope in Cleveland he becomes the person I know him to be in terms of the public image, because that is who he is privately.
Kim Jones, just one of the best. Thanks so much to her for sharing that story and sort of showing the personal side of Odell Beckham Jr. Do you guys think he gets a bad rap? What do you think of that?
You know, I know him personally, and every time I've spoke about him, I've said that he's a great man, just a little misunderstood. We call him emotional, but a lot of guys are emotional. This is an emotional game. And when you think about the clips, when we want to put a bad rap on Odell, what are the clips? What he's acting a tad bit immature. He's frustrated on the sideline. How many of our greats have done that? So I love that Kim touched on that, being transparent about what she went through and how Odell reached out in a moment where he didn't need to. Odell knows a million people, and he reached out to her because it was important to him.
I feel like we never see teammates of his say anything to feed into this narrative.
Yeah, and I think if the media is guilty of one thing, it's just making up our mind about Odell a few years ago. The Josh Norman game was a really bad thing for him, really bad. That Giants-Panthers game, he was completely unhinged. It probably led to the firing of Tom Coughlin. There's a big legacy thing with that. It was several years ago at this point, and I do think he has grown up. And the stuff with him getting emotional and screaming on the sideline, it's kind of the price of admission you get for a really talented, mercurial guy. That's fine. But I think, if anything, people made up their mind that after the Josh Norman incident, and they've gone and made commercials about it and everything, that powder keg, crazy, can't trust him. It was a long time ago. I think it's a little unfair to keep digging that up.
Antonio Brown, we have the same sort of footage of him on the sideline with Gatorade cans and being also not happy and sort of emoting when things aren't going well.
Yeah, just for the New York media standpoint, as much as, you know, there's a knock on Odell, it's also candy for the media. Us showing that stuff, like, that plays, like, when I watch an Eagles-Giants game on a Thursday night, I almost root for some sort of fireworks because I know on Friday morning we're going to be talking about
Peter,
it.
it's like tapping the fishbowl.
Exactly,
you know?
right. So you could act like you hate it, but you also love it. And for all the people who are saying, you know, oh, good, he's gone, from the websites and from the talk radio, don't be so happy with what you wish for, because he's a great player. He also led to a lot of page views. And, you know, the personal stuff with Kim, that's a beautiful story, and that's aside from it. From the media side of it, also, what we see on the field is what the fans know of him. But, yes, there's more to it than what you see on Sundays.
And you make a good point about the theatrics. Let's not get it misunderstood. Odell's smarter than he gives off. Do you think if he just made a catch and went to the sideline, we'd be talking about him the same way? Do you think if he had a regular haircut, we'd be talking about him the same way?
Hashtag brand?
No.
No,
he's smart. I don't throw the word genius around lightly. I described the work that Le'Veon did to get out of Pittsburgh as genius. I described Antonio Brown as genius. Was that the same Antonio Brown we've seen over the past couple of months?
No.
Yesterday?
We don't talk about Julio Jones like we talk about Odell. He's just a fantastic player, and that's kind of the end of the story.
Kanye said they describe all geniuses a little bit crazy. So Odell's a genius. There's a reason why we're talking about him, because he makes us talk about him.
Every time I've been around him, and it's just been a handful of times, I do not know him personally, there's like a larger-than-life thing going on. There's spotlights, there's cameras. I've never seen him getting a slice of pizza. I've seen several Giants out and about in New York. I don't even think Odell can do that because he was such a rock star here in New York City. I'm curious to see if that translates to Cleveland when he does sort of something happens and he gets fired up. That's a good thing, to get fired up if the same sort of media frenzy happens because it's Odell and what he's created here in New York around himself. But I'll say, intimidating is not the word. I've been sitting here trying to find the word. When I finally got to talk to him, I was a little bit intimidated because I didn't know which way it would go. And he could not have been more brilliant and welcoming and wonderful. I met him backstage at NFL Honors. He wasn't on camera. He was sort of in the shadows pumping up Saquon Barkley. He flew all the way there, got suited up to be there for his teammate. So I don't think they, by the way, would have come to a head at all. I think that they were like best friends. But just that moment when he came in and he could not, it was so not about him. Like as a wide receiver, he didn't want it to be. He was literally hiding off camera, and I pulled him on. And when he was finally on, all he did was talk about this young cat who's stealing the spotlight away from him. So he couldn't have been better. And sort of, I hate that he's seen that way too. So I was appreciative of Kim sharing her story because she knows him a lot better than any of us do.
Thanks, Kim. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll be back after this with more on the wide receiver, shaking up the league.